everybody. I just want to call the special board organizational meeting to order. At this point in time, we'll begin with the seating of the new members. Director Sanchez, would you please swear in?
Such a pretty background too.
Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Hold on, this is not good for photo ops. They've got their butts to the audience. Can we fix that?
Do I?
Yes. See the camera? Right here? Yep, and David, come forward just a little bit. Make sure the good folks at home can see you. Wendy, you're good? You're good right here. You're good right here. Right? There we go. So, sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
Want to make sure that you weren't showing your backsides.
Okay. Thank you. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name.
I, Al Larson,
Have been elected
have been elected
to the office of school board member.
to the office of school board member.
Swear that I will support
Swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
We can take a moment to do family pictures since your families were so gracious to join us tonight. Do we have board members? Okay, just do I'm sorry to hijack the meeting. So your family, if you'd like to invite them, Kyle?
Sure.
And then in front of the,
Okay.
so that you're on camera? Yeah. Come on. Come on up. And if you want to be in the middle, that'd be super.
Okay, perfect.
Because you're the center of attention today.
Okay.
And then David will be in the middle in a second.
No, we're still coming.
That was like pick a spot. All right, perfect. Thank you. Wilson family. It does take a village, absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent. Expect some big smiles down there. But that's the nice one, right? See, that's what they said when they came in. Thank you guys.
Thank you all very much. Yes. And thank the family for coming. At this point in time, nominations are open for the election of the board president.
I nominate Lori Andrus for board president.
Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Okay, this is an auction, going once, going twice. Sold. President Andrus. At this point in time, being that there are no other nominations, we will accept the nomination of Lori Andrus for president of the school board. And at this point in time, let's vote. Need to do the vote?
You have to vote, but you can either do it paper, voice, or by show of hand, because there's only one nomination.
Okay. Let's go by show of hands. All in favor? Okay. All right. Motion passes. At this point in time, we're going to pass the gavel over to President Indris.
All right, I'm going to try and keep on schedule tonight because we have been running ahead of schedule all night. So next up, I will take nominations for Vice President, please.
I will nominate Chris Klobuchar.
Do I have any other nominations? All right, keeping with the theme, going once, going twice. I have Chris Klobuchar. I'd like to move into the vote. Since there is only one nomination, I would like to do a voice vote. All those in favor of Chris Klobuchar say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion or vote carries. Chris Klobuchar will be Vice President. I will at this time take nominations for Secretary, please.
I'll nominate Michelle Shope to continue as Secretary.
Do I have any other nominations? All right, seeing none, by voice vote, all those in favor of Michelle Shope to continue on as Secretary, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion or election carries. Michelle, you'll remain as Board Secretary. Thank you. Next up, I will take nominations for Treasurer.
Shelley Cronin.
Does anybody have any other nominations? Seeing none, I will go ahead and do voice vote. All those in favor of Shelley Cronin for Treasurer?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Vote carries. Next up, I will take nominations for Clerk, please.
I nominate Wendy Sanchez.
Do I have any other nominations? All right, seeing none, let's proceed to voice vote. All those in favor of Wendy Sanchez for Clerk, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Vote carries. So, Michelle, do you have all that, or do you need me to go over it? Excellent. Okay, I'm going to move on with appointments. Bear with me while I bring up some notes because I do not have this memorized. So first up is the appointment of the CISA 2 representative. So for CISA 2 representative, I have Kyle Larson. Moving on to committee appointments. And just to keep everybody sort of, go ahead, Michelle.
I actually need a formal motion and vote on the CISA 2.
Sorry. Okay. All those, do I have any other nominations for that? Seeing none, I'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of Kyle Larson for CISA 2, vote aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. All right, next up. Michelle, am I good now?
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Point of clarification, I'm sorry, but Michelle, wasn't this an appointment by the president?
It is an appointment, but they still want it to be like a motion because there's a form that has to be.
Oh,
filled
CISA
out.
wants that. Okay, so the rest are appointments. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to committee appointments. Just to keep everybody in the loop, we are doing a new committee system for this year. In the past, the committees, we've had 3 committees and 3 board members have been a part of those committees. And moving forward for this year, we will have 4 committees. Those committees will include parents, students, community members, staff, as well as 2 board members instead of 3 board members. So I just want to kind of lay that groundwork for everybody at home who might not be aware of what we're doing, and you're going to hear some changes. So, Michelle, can I do the committee and the committee member at the same time, or do I need to do the chairs and then the members? Do you have however I want? Okay. So, under student committee chair, I am appointing Chris Klobuchar. Under student committee member, I'm appointing David Wilson. Fiscal committee chair, I'm appointing Shelley Cronin. Fiscal committee member, I'm appointing Wendy Sanchez. Staff committee chair, I'm appointing Chris Klobuchar. Staff committee member, I'm appointing Kyle Larson. Infrastructure committee chair, I'm appointing Wendy Sanchez. Infrastructure Committee Member, Kyle Larson. Communication Committee Chair, David Wilson. Communication Committee Member, Pam Charles. Got all those?
I need staff chair.
Staff Committee Chair was Chris Klobuchar.
Thank you.
Anybody else that you're missing?
Nope.
Okay. Moving forward to RCAA Governance Board, Chris Klobuchar. WASB Delegate, Pam Charles. WASB Alternate, Kyle Larson. Liquor Commission, Shelley Cronin. Library Board, Shelley Cronin. Employee Relations, Kyle Larson. Merrill Community Revitalization, Kyle Larson. Ad Hoc Diversity, David Wilson. Ad Hoc Academic Achievement, Chris Klobuchar. Legislative Representative, Pam Charles. Got all that, Michelle, or did I roll through that too quickly? Okay, so I would like to adjourn this.
In the past, we had 2 on the diversity committee.
Help me out. Okay, so let's add Kyle Larson to that.
Okay.
Okay? So am I good to go ahead and adjourn this part of the meeting? Anybody I missed? Anything I missed? All right, I would like to adjourn the special board organizational meeting, and we will roll right into the board business meeting. We can't.
Nope. It's not time.
Oh, I can't start that till 7. See, we never run ahead of schedule, so I'm having to be schooled in the fine art of actually running ahead of schedule at a meeting. So we have 5 minutes before I can start the business meeting at 7:20. So if you need more cake, it is out in the hallway. Help yourselves. All right, it is exactly 7:20, so I would like to call this meeting to order, please. And I'm going to go a little off script here because I want to start out this meeting by demonstrating what our high school has already started and what some of you probably saw in the newspaper. But I wanted to show our students who may be tuning in, along with parents and the rest of the community, what Yonder is and why we are exploring it, and you will hear more about this later in the board meeting with details. So I'm just kind of being the intro tease to the rest of the story as we start this. But essentially what I'm going to ask board members to do is to use a Yonder pouch, and this is what we're asking our high school students to use. We all recognize that we all, students, adults alike, we are all struggling with managing technology a bit, and our teachers have said loud and clear that this has become a distraction in their classrooms on a day-to-day basis with our kids. Those of us, this is a problem even with adults. The place I work has to remind adults what to do with cell phones every now and again, too. So the way this pouch works is a student will come into a class, they will get the pouch, it unlocks at the top with a magnetized system, the cell phone goes in the pouch. The student keeps the pouch with them because we recognize these cell phones are very expensive and our students are very attached to them. So we are in no way taking the phone away from the student. The phone stays with the student in the pouch, but it can't be accessed during class. So we minimize the distractions. Nicely enough, in case of an emergency or on the way out of the class, there is simply a magnetized system. It kind of works like the things you see at clothing stores. You pass this over the top of it, the pouch opens up, and the student takes their phone to the next class. So I'm going to ask all board members for the duration of this meeting to put their phone in a pouch and lock it on up, and we will unlock them as our students do at the end of class. And the adults are all laughing because y'all know how hard this is if you're an adult. So I will go first. So I'm going to hand these on down. You can. Is everybody's pouch open, Shelley? You need some help? So you pouch your phone. Uh-oh. You push it closed, and for the duration, the phone stays in the pouch. All right? Details to follow. I'm going to get back on track now and get on with the rest of the agenda at hand. May I have approval of the agenda, please?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda's approved. May I have Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on, may I have announcements?
Good evening. As we head into the final weeks of school, there are many wonderful things happening throughout our district. This Friday, many of our students will be participating in the citywide Arbor Day celebration at 10 a.m. at Rotary Center. Saturday night marks the 9th annual Rhythm of the Night hosted by the Nightingales. This special event takes place in the Beloit Memorial Auditorium. Doors open at 6:30, show starts at 7, and tickets are just $10. The Board of Education is currently seeking committee applications. Students, staff, and community members are invited to get involved. More information is available under announcements at beloitschools.net. We hope that our community will join us for a night of distinction on May 4th at 6 p.m. at the Eclipse Center. We will celebrate the honor district students, employees, volunteers, and parents. The keynote speaker for the evening will be Milwaukee native Dr. Ramel Smith. Tickets are $25 and are available in all school offices as well as the Kolak Center. Visit our homepage, beloitschools.net, for more information. Be sure to visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more information on all the great things happening in our district. This concludes tonight's announcements.
Thank you. Moving on, Jen, to recognitions.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is always my favorite time where we get to recognize some of the great things that are happening in our district. And so tonight we are recognizing a specific young man from Fruzen Intermediate School because of his willingness to speak out in public. We all know how hard that can be. It's one of the top fears that adults even have. But this young man had the courage to speak up and speak out at a televised board meeting, and he continues to be quite active in civic engagement regarding school safety. So I would just like to bring up Philip Wiles. Come on up, son. From Fruzen Intermediate School. So Mr. Philip, come closer so we can see. I'm looking at the monitor back there. You see where you're at? Okay, so you're going to turn around and face the board members. Awesome. So our friend Philip, he engaged civically, which is part of our mission here at the School District of Beloit. And Philip, we applaud you for your willingness to speak up not only on behalf of yourself, but on behalf of your classmates and on behalf of your school and on behalf of our district. So we are very grateful to you, and we hope that you continue in your civic engagement for years to come.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Stay right here because I got the gentleman who want to say something to you. Didn't know if members of the board had anything to add.
Hey, son, I just want to say thank you for speaking up, and, let this be a lesson because, you want to, I'm looking at your shirt, it says be a voice, and I want you to continue to use your voice, not only for yourself, but for others. So continue to speak up, speak out, and speak often for justice.
Philip, thanks for all the suggestions, and thanks for coming back tonight so we could recognize you. I appreciate it. All right? Good job. Thanks.
There you go, son. High five. Yep, you're good. Our next recognition is bittersweet because we are recognizing outgoing board members for their service to the School District of Beloit. We have two outgoing board members tonight, Dr. Anderson Levy, who could not be here, but we also have Dr. Dennis Baskin. So, Dr. Baskin, I'd like to invite you up. We have a few things for Dr. Baskin, in addition to the mic one last time, sir. We have a certificate from the district just really thanking you for your years of service to the district as a whole, to our students primarily. We know that they're the reason that we are all here and that we all serve. We also have, excuse me, a certificate of commendation from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. And because we know you'll miss it so much, we do have your board nameplate, Dr. Baskin. We know that's important. You're going to put that somewhere nice, right? And then we have a little token of our appreciation for you. So we're really grateful for your years of service. So there you have it. And the mic is yours, sir.
Thank you. Let me put this over here. Technology. Yes, Sister Klobuchar, I didn't want to waste paper. Okay? Yes. Today I stand before you grateful for the opportunity to have served the great citizens of Beloit on the Board of Education. Many people don't understand that the School District of Beloit is a $100 million engine that affects so many lives. The lives are impacted are students, parents, family, educators, administrators, and a host of other key stakeholders. There are a couple of things that I would like to say. First, I would like to share that I enjoyed working with the board, all of the board members. It hasn't always been an easy task, but together we made some difficult decisions that will move this great district forward. Some of you have a special place in my heart. I've worked very close with you. I've recognized your character, and I've recognized your integrity. If I may, Wendy Sanchez, I enjoy working with you. I like your temperament, I like your passion, and could continue to speak up for your community. Shelley Cronin, I like your steadfastness, your precision, and I can look to you, and 99% of the time, you and I are right on the money. I also would like to acknowledge Vice President Klobuchar. I affectionately call you Sister Klobuchar. I enjoyed working with you. I watched you. You wanted the information, and when you got the information, you made the best decision. For the rest of the board members, I've enjoyed working with you. It was never personal. It was for what was in the best interest of our students. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to be proud of for the work that we've done. For example, the increase in the number of administrators of color. When I started on the board, administrators of color was 5.7%. In those 3 years, the numbers have increased to 47%. Others said we can't find minorities, and we as a board in the administration, we proved them wrong. Additionally, our paraeducators of color increased from 26% to 45% over the past 3 years. While the Board of Education gave the mandate, it was Dr. Williams and Dr. Johnson who led the charge. Hats off to these two transformational leaders for reaching higher heights. However, more work is needed in the area of professional educators of color in closing the academic achievement gap. Today, we only have 13.2% of educators of color when we have over 64% students of color. Don't listen to the critics that say we hired too many blacks at one time. Plain and simple, we have to give our students of color the opportunity to have teachers that look like them. Let me get a drink of water, 1 second. Second, I wish to publicly state that I enjoyed working with both Superintendent Johnson and Interim Superintendent Williams. Dr. Johnson is a caring man who looked out for the best interests of all students. He's a product of Beloit and a fine example. I wish him well in his recovery of his health. Dr. Williams, you are a first-class gentleman who gives unselfishly to others. I've watched you work 12 to 15 hours a day, and not once have I ever heard you complain. I find you to be a professional man with a measured demeanor and a big heart. I don't know if I have your fortitude. I've watched others disrespect you in your position, but not once did you show anger. I challenge you to start letting board members and others know when they've disrespected you or stepped out of bounds. You're an amazing person, and I've watched and listened to others make racist comments to you and Mr. Bonds, but you all have been steadfast and professional in doing your job with class and dignity. While I love and respect my dear city, I've come to see real ugly racism that exists in this district and community. I'm not worried about it, Dr. Williams, because you have the interests of the students and you're protected by God's favor and grace. Dr. Williams, continue to fight for marginalized students and keep that winning spirit. Third, I want to speak directly to you, Mr. Board Member David Wilson. I am pleased to see that you were the top vote getter in the last election. In fact, that is a mandate to make a difference. You received the support from every sector of this community. I'm pleased that you continue to be an upstanding individual regardless what the Beloit Daily News said. I know your family, I know your mother, I know your parents, your grandparents. You come from good stock. Speak loud and clear to the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Please know that your community is watching you with hopeful anticipation. You don't have to get along to go along. You were sent to the board to make a difference. When you see racism, Mr. Wilson, you call it out. When you see dirty politics, you call it out. When you see people dishonest, you call them out. You look them in the face and tell them, not today. Fourth, I wish to take this opportunity to thank the people who served on my campaign to get me elected. There are so many people I could thank, but for the sake of time, I would like to pause and just thank 4 individuals. First, I would like to thank Mr. Arnie Lee. It was Mr. Lee who sat down with me and went over the state statutes with me and told me what the Board of Education was and made me the effective board leader that I am today. I would like to thank my godfather, Mr. Ray Harchie, for help to raise the person I am today to sit on my campaign. I'll pause to thank Mrs. Dorothy Harrell for reigniting that social justice fight that I have in me. And last but not least, I would like to thank you, Mrs. Pam Charles. It was you who asked me to run for the board. It was you who taught me about policy. And regardless of our differences, I have to give respect where it's due, and it's due to you. I would like to thank my family and my friends in the community. In closing, and most importantly, I wish to thank the citizens of Beloit for electing me to this position. It was a roller coaster ride, but it was a fun one. This district is dear to me. I went to school here, Sister Klobuchar. I got my education here, and I chose to come back to be a taxpayer and a part of this community. It's been a good ride, and I'm grateful. So I leave with closing comments that you always say, Dr. Williams, your slogan, go together, one team, one fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baskin. I just want to say thank you very much for your leadership, your guidance, your friendship, and your intervention. Without it, to be honest with you, that gave me the encouragement and the fuel to continue to burn, to do the right thing on behalf of students here within this district. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dennis, for the kind words. Certainly thank you for serving. And I'll look to see what that 1% is that we didn't get along with. Still trying to figure out what it is, but I know we definitely had our differences along the way. But like you said, I appreciated your honesty. We always had good arguments, and we're still both standing here, so I think it went okay. But thank you for everything.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for making me feel welcome to this board, for protecting me, and for, I think, shaping me into the leader I'm going to try to be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dennis, for those eloquent words. I'm sure we all appreciate your candor. I personally appreciate the time and belief you have in me. So thanks for making it tough on me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Dennis, thank you for serving. It's not an easy job.
Yes. Thank you.
I appreciate all your efforts, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Right.
All right, moving on. I am on to citizens or delegations. Do I have anybody who is interested in addressing the board? Two. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the script that I legally must read. Members of the audience, the Board of Education is now at the place on the agenda where we will receive public comments from individuals or delegations on areas of interest that are not on the agenda. The Board of Education will generally not respond or act on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Appropriate items will be referred to administration or one of the board's committees. Persons wishing to speak on one of the posted agenda items may do so as items are called by the board president. While the board and district welcome public comments, we as a board also must ask that you exercise care in your comments that relate specifically to district employees or persons connected with the school system. In order to protect the rights of these individuals and in the interest of complying with open meetings law on prior posting of items for consideration at this meeting, the board reserves the right to end comment on such topics. The use of specific names of district personnel may lead to legal liability on the part of the speaker. The board would also remind the public that the board has existing procedures in place to dispose of legitimate complaints against staff members and persons related to the system. Persons desiring to speak should complete the public comment card, hand it to the board secretary, and then proceed to the podium. You will then need to clearly state your name and address for the record before beginning your comments. Each person is asked to speak no more than 3 minutes unless you are using an interpreter.
Good evening and welcome to the 2 new board members. I hope you'll enjoy your tenure. My name is Dorothy Harrell. I reside at 2284 Boulder Court in the city of Beloit. I wanted to thank the board members who were present prior to tonight. I sent a notice to each board member about a concern that I raised. I sent that note on March 21st. It was about the hiring process for the Human Resource Director. I did get a response from President Indris on March 22nd, and I want to thank you for that response, because I do fully agree with you that once again we find ourselves, and I quote from you, focused on adult-related issues when we really have so many needs around our students. I wish I was really here to talk about the fact that the board needs to investigate why Merrill Elementary School doesn't have a reading specialist, but I don't have enough information to talk about that, so I want to talk about what I know. And what I know is when I wrote my letter to the board on March 21st, I was responding to an article that appeared in the Beloit newspaper that addressed the committee that was put together to hire the Human Resource Director. And a direct quote from that article from one of the board members was that the process was not fair to all the candidates. Not fair how? I don't know, because we interviewed 4 people, 6 people were invited to interview, 2 did not show. There were 2 African-American women, 1 Caucasian woman, and 1 Caucasian male. I was told in a subsequent conversation with that board member that, oh, but you knew her. You go to the same church. You all worked on a cookbook together. Well, I wish that it had been investigated what I knew about any of the other candidates, because I've worked and lived in Milwaukee. One of the candidates was from Milwaukee. I lived and worked in one of the school districts that the Caucasian woman had worked in, but I didn't hear anything about that. Only about this young black woman, and oh, you know her. And my reply was, you forget, I'm an entire generation older than this person. They don't take attendance at my church, so I don't know who's there from Sunday to Sunday. And I never worked on a cookbook with anybody. Our church put a cookbook together for one of the anniversaries, and I submitted a recipe. I'm not even a cook. It was a recipe from my mother. So I didn't work on a cookbook with anybody. But that was no reason to say that the entire process was not fair. What was not fair was for those comments to appear in the Daily News. The other comment that appeared was that the candidate does not meet minimum qualifications. The committee disagrees. We felt the candidate met and exceeded the requirements that were listed there for hire. So I would hope, as Lori Indris said in a letter that she wrote back to me, that board members will fully support the will of what's decided, not take out what looks like and feels like personal attacks on individuals. So I hope that going forward, what we will be talking about are student needs, which is very important to me. Having taught in this district for 20 years, I'm very invested in this district. So I am concerned. I taught at Merrill for 10 years. I am concerned about what goes on at Merrill and how well the children are served or not served. So that's where I would like to put more energy. But when things like this come up, I'll be in front of you to address them again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Go ahead.
Okay, hello, my name is Philip Wiles. I live in 1917 Campus Drive, Beloit, Wisconsin, and I am here to thank all of the board members that supported me with all of my stuff that I went through and talked about when I was at the last board meeting. And now I am here to thank everyone, and I am congratulating Mr. Wilson over here for getting elected, and Mr. Larson, which was somebody that I knew at my school that I went to last year, Robinson Elementary. And for the last time, I'm here to thank you, and I will be seeing you again eventually.
Great job, and we hope we get to see you again eventually too. So thanks for coming back. All right, I am on to the superintendent's report to the board. Dr. Williams.
All right, at this point in time, we're going to have a presentation on human trafficking from the Rock County Task Force.
Thanks for having us put on your agenda tonight. I'm Sarah Schumacher. I work at Community Action, and I represent Community Action on the Rock County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. The task force was started in 2015 by the State Line Women's Fund because they saw that Rock County was starting to grow in the crime of human trafficking, sex trafficking amongst our youth. With that, we grew to about 20 agencies. We combined multiple jurisdictions throughout the county, and we went through a really large mapping process, and this process took almost a year long. During that process, all the agencies, law enforcement, school districts throughout the county got together and looked at what our challenges were, what our services were, what we were lacking in the community. After that, the Women's Fund said, you guys got this, and they left us to do it on our own, in which we then formed the Rock County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. Since then, we have just now started in our first year of strategic planning. With the help of Mark Perry, which I'm sure many of you know. He came in and did some work with us, and one of our main goals has been to reach out to every Rock County school district. You guys are the last ones, so we're glad to be here. Our goal in a strategic plan is to get into the school districts, educate, and become aware, or bring awareness to the educators and the teachers, their frontline staff. They are seeing our students every day. They're noticing differences in our students. They're forming relationships with our students, the high-risk kids. So we are getting in there. We have done the school district of Milton, we did professional development day with all of their staff. Janesville, we have trained 60 educators. Edgerton, we've done a whole entire professional development day twice. Evansville, we are going into, actually they're just bypassing the educators, and we're going right into the classrooms with the kids. So we would like to see something similar here in Beloit as well with the educators. Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm under total pressure here, hanging the clock. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have also done community panels across the community. Which means that we have brought in our experts of task force members, and we've put them together to do community panels, and they've been free. Beloit, which I'm very proud to say that has had the largest turnout in the community. A lot of interest was generated. Chief Z was there. He provided information from a law enforcement perspective. We've had CPS perspectives. We had the SANE nurses from the hospitals talk about what they're seeing when they have youth come in that have been trafficked. Today, also, there was just breaking news in Janesville that a man was caught with trafficking charges for Rock County and multiple youth.
Yes.
Multiple youth. So it is in our neighbors. It's in our neighborhood. It's here. It's a fast growing crime. And it does start with, it was ironic to see you guys doing it with the cell phones, because a lot of it is starting on our apps with our students and our kids. Janesville just piloted a program with the support of their superintendent. Janesville Craig High School they got together with law enforcement and CPS and identified students, both boys and girls, who were at the high risk factors of being trafficked. There was 30 of them they put together. Out of the 30 students, they invited them to a meeting and they were going to feed them and all of this good stuff. And out of the 30 students, what would you say came? 29. They had 20, and they didn't have to come. So I think that speaks volumes. After that meeting was over, the teachers that ran that meeting and the law enforcement that ran that meeting were having students come up the day after and said, why wasn't I invited? So I'm going to introduce Jeff Berkeley. He works for Division of Criminal Investigations, and he's a special agent. So I'm going to let him kind of take over. He's very special.
We can drop that special term out of that anytime we want. Thanks for putting us on the agenda and listening to us. I really appreciate this. I am a special agent. As my title says, I investigate human trafficking cases throughout the state. My headquarters is in Madison, but I am this entire region, south and west, including Rock County. I spend quite a bit of time down here in Rock County. I do have active cases right now in Rock County. And we have historically had cases that come and go in Rock County. Typically what happens with them, why they're not necessarily charged in the county, is because oftentimes with the location close to Illinois, we see a lot of the victims being transported into Illinois, down into Chicago, Rockford, which then makes it a kind of a federal case. So when we have victims in this area, we don't always see charges like we just saw in Janesville and we're seeing in Janesville because they cross the border. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about human trafficking, and I know I'm pretty limited on time, so I don't want to go too far with it. I want to give you some numbers and some stats, and I know there's been a lot of talk about human trafficking and kind of what it is. There's also been a lot of myths thrown out there. I like to talk about Taken, the movie Taken, and a lot of people have seen that movie, and that is not human trafficking that we see here. We don't see that type of human trafficking as a result in this area. It does exist, but what we see is kids, typically young kids who are at high risk, and high risk is poverty, homelessness, substance abuses. Let me write down I got a few notes here too. Sex abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, mental health, all those types of things. We see that in our human trafficking victims. Very high risk situations, and oftentimes we see multiple of those signs in the youths. What we want to do is be able to get into the schools and talk with these kids. I know Beloit School District in general has a very high population of homeless kids, and so being able to talk with them at school, where we can get a hold of them and talk with them and help them know there's resources out there to help them more than just what school can provide, is what we really want to do. Also, I got some numbers from just in general missing high-risk kids that we keep track of. In a year's time, Rock County specifically had 96 kids that ran away. And of those 96 kids, 36 of them were missing four or more times in a one-year span. And in what I see in those young kids is the street is no place for them, right? They don't get proper help. It's a very dangerous place for them on the street, and it can easily their traffickers are on the street that can easily suck them into the life of trafficking, and they don't really understand what's going on until it's kind of too late and they're trapped. They're not able to get out of these situations. We're talking about the average young kid getting into the trafficking world at 12 to 14 years old. So with that being said, they're very vulnerable at those ages, and so missing and endangered kids, to me, in law enforcement, is extremely concerning, because I need to try to find these kids and see why are they missing. Can we do something to help get them back into a place where they can go to school regularly, get the normal needs met from day to day. And also, of these missing kids, 29 of them were 12 years old or younger. And these are only reported to law enforcement. And we know not everybody that's missing is reported to law enforcement. So these numbers aren't 100% right. Also, 54 of them, that's over half of the young kids, were missing for more than 30 days at a time. Where does a young kid go for 30 days and have support of any sort and be able to fend for themselves? That they often can't. I know young kids, it's really difficult to do that. So I don't know where they're getting resources for 30 days, but traffickers do. Traffickers, honestly, we see traffickers that will actually look for these types of individuals because they know they're very vulnerable and they need a lot, and the trafficker can initially provide for them, and that's a way in to them. So being able to get into the schools and talk with the kids and help them out would be very beneficial, I think. Do you have anything to add?
Do you guys have any questions?
So what I'm hearing is that we have an opportunity to bring in more education to our students. What I'm going to encourage is administrators, let me know if I need to put this on as an agenda item and a board vote to make that happen, and I'm willing to do that. We recognize that Rock County has some of the highest scores in the state for ACEs, which is adverse childhood events, which then directly correlates to the fact that we have more kids at risk for this than anywhere else in the state, probably, along with the fact that we have an incredibly high child abuse case rate in this county as well. So if the administrators can get back to me if I need to put this on an agenda item, we'll do so. All right. Thank you for coming and taking the time to present this information.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And you don't have to do that. We've had this presentation and one similar where this topic was discussed at the Parent Academy, so you're more than welcome to continue to do that. And there's been an additional presentation at the Latino Service Providers meeting. So if there's some information you would like to share, Mr. Buns is there, or myself afterwards, you can connect with us and we can make that happen. Too easy.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
At this point, we'll have Mr. Buns and Mr. Eberly come up for a presentation on Yonder, and that would be followed by Mr. Buns with an ad hoc academic achievement committee update.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for setting the example for the school district. Over the last couple of years, we've heard concerns from our staff and teachers specifically that the amount of distractions in the classroom is truly a problem and something that they've communicated to us over and over again. So I asked our technology coordinator, Ross Eberly, to take a look at what is out there to really address the situation. And Yonder was one of the things that he first came across. And I'm going to turn it over right away to Ross that he's going to give a slight overview of it and share a quick video on Yonder, and we'll field questions after that. So, Mr. Eberly.
Oh yeah, turn off some of the lights so we can hit that. Board members, thanks for letting me come in tonight and give you guys a brief overview of the Yonder program that we're piloting out at the high school and also BLA. So I'm just going to play you a quick video, the intro that one of the videos that we used to introduce the Yonder program to the students, so that way you can all just take a look and see what it's all about.
Students last year, they never talk to each other ever. This is really the power of Yonder and what's going on this year. These students are playing cards, they're interacting, they're having fun, they're smiling, and this never happened last year.
This year I noticed there's a lot more activity down at the block, and people are like actually socializing now and not just sitting on their phones and like, oh here, look at this, oh here, look at this, and then just quiet for 10 minutes.
I feel like Yonder forces you to interact with people now instead of being on your phone.
I mean, without the phone, you get to see a lot of stuff. See stuff you've never seen before. Sometimes, walking up and down the hallways, I see kids I've never seen before. I'm like, oh, you friends.
I think the biggest change that I've seen since Yonder's been implemented is that I have more class time back.
And now we'd have 5 or 10 minutes left over at the end of class where we could actually have a discussion about some of the material instead of merely getting to learn about it and then not necessarily apply it or process it.
I hate to admit it, but I have noticed I am doing more work, and then I'll have free time and I do more work for other classes because I'm not just sitting on my phone.
It's really enhanced the learning environment, an opportunity to learn, and it's placed an emphasis on what we're here to do, which is educate.
They know it, they see it, this is something that they get, and I think Yonder's empowering them to try and take back some of their learning.
Okay, so we started the trial fourth term at the high school, which was, we're in our third week now. So the first week we started with an introduction with videos such like this, also going through the cell phone addiction, talking to the students about why they feel they need to be on their cell phones during the class. Presented that for the first week, got the teachers all on board, got the students all at least informed of what was going to occur, sent out some parent letters to make sure they were aware as well. And then we, last week, as the students enter the classes, they need to put their cell phones in the pouches as they enter and then put the cell phones locked, pouches locked on their desk, and then go about their class. Yep. So talking to them about addiction, cell phones were designed really well to keep people on the cell phones, social media addiction, that kind of thing. And thus far through the trial, of course, there's been a little bit pushback from the students, not a lot. Most teachers are finding that within a couple of days, the students are willing to put their phones in the pouch, and they've got a good response. We've heard from at least a couple teachers that several projects that would normally have taken 2 or 3 days to finish, they've gotten done in 1 day now because the students aren't picking up their cell phones and getting distracted throughout the class period. We've also heard, last week we talked to a couple of students, and they're saying that they actually are interacting with their fellow classmates during class more, similar to what you saw in the video as well. And that's our update. We're going to continue that trial through the end of the term, and then we're going to get some results back, kind of see how that looks, and explore the possibility of going school-wide at Beloit Memorial High School next year. Yep. If you guys have any questions?
I don't necessarily have any questions. I just had a couple comments. It's brought up some really interesting discussions sort of in my house, a rather unexpected one with my own mother. We had an interesting discussion. It's, well, this is maybe kind of like when calculators came out, and I kind of pushed back, and we had a discussion, and 2 days later she calls back and says, there's this great article in Time Magazine with a lot of research. So I did a quick Google search, and it's really interesting and just a really cursory search. The University of Texas did a research study where they did some testing with higher functioning cognitive testing, and the participants either had their cell phone out on the desk or put away. And the testing proved that just by virtue of having the cell phone out, the participants' cognitive function went down. So I think that that's kind of significant. Even when we don't want to recognize it, it does really impact. So just a little food for thought.
My one comment is just to reassure parents and public, because I think some of us have heard, what about an emergency? So again, as I demonstrated earlier in the evening, all this is a swipe across the magnet, which can happen in a matter of seconds. The pouch releases and the phone is out. So, and every classroom is equipped with more than one, in some cases, devices that will unlock these phones. The other thing is I'm still plugging away. I'd like Chance the Rapper to come and, apparently these are used at Chance the Rapper concerts. So I think if it's good for Chance the Rapper, it's good for us too. And I think that probably would help sell it to our students. So any other comments, questions? All right, thanks again. Very innovative. Appreciate the great idea.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So as I load up my presentation for the Achievement Gap update, clearly making sure students are engaged in the classroom, focused, paying attention is one of the sure ways to make sure performance increases. And looks like my technology is going to take a little longer to come up. So just want to provide a little information regarding the ad hoc committee. As you're aware, the ad hoc committee was established January of 2017 with the specific goal of examining and recommending actionable strategies to close the achievement gap in the school district of Beloit. We have been meeting every month for 2 Mondays, the first and third Monday of each month at Fruzen Intermediate School. And in January, we began, and we have a core group of individuals who are dedicated, and they are committed to meeting and discussing all of things related to the achievement gap and student achievement. There are 4 subcommittees for the ad hoc committee. One that focuses on academic achievement, another focuses on parent and family and community engagement, another focuses on leadership and instructional capacity, and the last one focuses on the learning environment. Since then, in January of 2018, the board approved several strategies. The board approved the strategy to expand and restructure the current mentor program for principals, the creation of an orientation book for all new administrators, the hiring of consultants to do an independent study of our 4K programming, the commission of a study in collaboration with Beloit College, and the prioritization of additional FTE to support administrative and student services positions. 2 weeks ago, the board was also provided with additional strategies that is being moved forward by the ad hoc committee. Those 2 strategies are the development of a district-wide coordinator position, starting with a lead coordinator and a site coordinator. The second strategy is the creation of a district learning environment plan that will encompass the code of conduct, rights and responsibilities, proactive positive strategies, progressive discipline, and appropriate behavior responses and related policies. And our next steps then is to continue to do some research regarding best practices and models for best practices, continue to gather feedback from community stakeholders, including our district staff, continuing the development of the comprehensive plan that will be presented in late May. And in late May, the final recommendations will be moved forward regarding the continuation of the ad hoc committee itself. So thank you, and I apologize for all the distractions related to the presentation. Any questions?
Anthony, thanks to you and all the committee for all the hard work on this, the great ideas. It's been fun to watch, but I know it's been a lot of work. But I think it's going to pay off, and I appreciate everything coming forward to the board. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to say thank you. I know all the work that you put in that I see, and I know the work that you put in that I definitely don't see. And I want to thank the committee as well, some who are in the audience. Thank you for your steadfastness and commitment to the committee and to the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point in time, I will do the equity report, the equity update. Mrs. Tasha Bell, she's not with us this evening due to some unforeseen circumstances, but she is here in spirit. I would like to share with her the information that she gave me to share with you this evening. On last week, she had that opportunity to speak at the National Men of Color Conference which was an outstanding event in South Carolina, putting Beloit on the map. There was over 2,000 attendees and adults and about 1,000 to 1,500 students, she said, that were in and out of the conference. It's definitely an event that we want to look at next year. She spoke on the topic of the Student Leadership Initiative, transforming schools through student empowerment. Also, at the we had Merrill School and some of our Gaston students and parents to attend the Milwaukee Bucks game. Now, we know that inside of our schools, school is a place where we not only get an education, but an experience. So every month we take a group of students and parents to the Milwaukee Bucks game to give them an opportunity to connect and also have a little fun together. So we're very excited about that and that partnership. We took a group of students to Milwaukee, to Manpower, to participate in a leadership seminar that was conducted by Chuck Zamora, who is the founder of the Learning Company. It was an outstanding presentation. The kids really enjoyed it, and they asked if we could bring that presentation here so that other students can participate in it. And these were mainly students from the School of Business, and it was a great opportunity, outstanding. We had the Equality Committee meeting on April the 9th. We did not have that many parents at that particular event. I want to encourage our parents to participate on the Equality Committee meeting and our Parent Academy. This is one of the meetings that was asked about whenever we first arrived here. We have those meetings every month at the Rotary Center, and those different topics that you're interested in and information that we're sharing from the district, we communicate those at that time, and we want to make sure that everybody is aware. We do not want anyone to say there was never a venue where you could not get information. So please participate in those meetings. The interviews were held for the Grow Your Own Scholarship. As you're aware, last year was the first time we gave out our Grow Your Own Scholarship. This year, we're proud to say that a second scholarship will go to a student on May 19th at the State Line Community Foundation Scholarship Luncheon. So we're very excited about that. The Night of Distinction event, the first one we held last year, the second one, the second annual, will be on May the 4th. You do not want to miss this event. I want to thank all of our business partners who have helped us and have contributed to this outstanding event on behalf of our teachers, students, parents, and volunteers. We have over 78 honorees that will be at the Eclipse Center, May the 4th, 6 o'clock. Dr. Ramel Smith will be our keynote speaker, and I told him don't go any more than 10, 15 minutes. And as you heard earlier, he's out of Milwaukee, but Beloit is his second home. He has a lot of relatives right here in Beloit, and since I've announced that he's going to be coming, a lot of people say, yeah, that's my cousin. And so we're looking forward to seeing you at that event. Lastly, we are planning on having a diversity and inclusion conference here for parents and community members, and we're also going to bring in our youth, and we're going to invite some of the youth from the different districts that are around. This conference will be led by Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., founder of the White Privilege Conference and author of the book, The Guide for White Women Who Teach Black Boys. More information will be coming, but our goal is to have this event here in Beloit on May the 25th. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to reports to the board. Oops, sorry.
Can I introduce Ms. Carradine?
Absolutely.
As you are aware, we do have a new HR director here for the district. Ms. Carradine, would you please come and just say a few words to introduce yourself, if you would mind?
Good evening. As he stated, I'm Tracy Carradine, and I grew up in Beloit. I went to school here in Beloit and then left. I've been living in Madison for about 20 years, and then so finally coming back home. It's a pleasure to be here. Before that, I worked for the Sun Prairie Area School District for 5 years in their HR department, and then before that, I worked 21 years for the state of Wisconsin for the Department of Revenue and the Department of Administration. So it is an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight.
All right. Did you do the equality report combined in there? All righty, sorry. Moving on, we do not have a student board member for reports, so I'm going to skip down to committee reports. Finance and Transportation, please.
Finance, Transportation, and Property met on April 10th. Items to note, we had the annual review of the food service program with Airmark. I think that was very informative for all of us. We did discuss the custodial maintenance services RFP, ended up tabling that. I think we all know, based on earlier discussions, where that one went. And that would be it.
Thank you. Moving on to curriculum and instruction.
Curriculum and instruction also met April 10th. We had a presentation on the Yonder cell phone device that we already had today. We tabled the DLI curriculum report. Then we also had a report from Mr. Bonds about academic achievement committee proposals, and those were brought forward. Finally, we approved the early college credit program for summer school and the fall semester, and it used to be called Youth Options for those who remember it from before. Now it's the early college credit program. So that's something that comes up all the time. So there you go.
Okay, and I'm going to have you keep your mic on and move on to policy and personnel for me. Thanks.
So I'll report on the March 20th policy and personnel. We had policies for first read, and we're probably going to have a few of these coming up because of the new committee structure. So policy 185.4, the infrastructure committee is coming to the full board for final read. Policy 185.5, the communication committee. We also had some items in closed session, and then I wasn't prepared for this one. Dennis usually does it, and he's not here. We approved some additional temporary pay for some people that are covering for Director of Finance in the interim. That meeting agenda ended, and we have minutes from April 10th. Again, we have policies for first read regarding our new committee structure. One is policy number 185, Rule 1, Standing Committee Policy. 185.3, the Staff Committee. Policies for second read that came up, and then we'll come to the full board, I believe, tonight, are 522.31, Supervisory Nepotism, 523.1, Employee Physical Examinations, and Policy 523.6, Identification Badges. And we had the approval of additional offense codes and the revision of policy 443-447, the Code of Contact, which aligns some of our policies for the annual pupil non-discrimination compliance report and civil rights data collection, and that comes, I believe, tonight. So I would be remiss to not thank Pam Charles for helping out with all the new committee structure policies. She did a lot of work in those, so thank you, Pam.
All right, next up, I would like a motion for the consent list, please.
I'll move approval of the consent list.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to business action items. I'm down at item B, CISA 2 services.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 60 fund activity groups.
Move approval of the 60 fund activity groups.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The Academic Achievement Ad Hoc Committee proposal. Do you want to just...
Want me to read them?
Yeah. Yes, please.
I can do that. So the two committees that Mr. Bonds reported on and we discussed in curriculum and instruction are the administration and the ad hoc committee is recommending for approval for the full board approval, the development of a district-wide volunteer program starting with a lead and hub coordinator. These are two full-time positions that will then coordinate volunteers throughout the district.
Needs a motion.
Yeah, so we need to, I move that we approve that. I'm confused now. Sorry.
Michelle, can you help me out? So we need a motion for those two separate items. Or we can put them together and combine them.
I'd like to request that we keep them separate because I want the second one to be clarified, please.
Okay, so let's take a motion for the first item, which would be the two additional positions for volunteer coordinator and volunteer
hub coordinator.
Hub coordinator for the district, correct?
Yep. Do
I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries for the two volunteer positions as part of the ad hoc committee.
Point of clarification, will those be posted positions, and if so, when? Are these for the fall, starting in the fall? Or do we not know that yet?
I would actually like to post those positions immediately so that we can have them in place before the summer.
So do we have existing budget funds for that?
Yes.
I'm the budget lady, remember? So I just want to make sure, because it hasn't come before a budget committee for next year. So as we're approving positions, I just want to make sure we have the funds if we're doing it before the next budget cycle.
The funds are on the next page.
Yeah, if you look.
By the time we do posting and hiring, we'll be into, if you're considering the budget for fiscal year,
We'll be into the next.
July.
Okay.
So, you make an error.
No, we're fine. I just wanted clarification because that was what I wanted to know, because we didn't discuss if they were being posted or what we were doing, so I just wanted to know what we were doing with them.
Okay.
So the target rollout is fall of 2018. The cost then was broken down. If you read the full proposal on page 57, I guess I should turn that on. The cost is broken down.
Thank you. That's the piece that I didn't see.
Okay.
The piece I was looking at was the fiscal impact of $130,000.
Okay.
That was the one that gave me made me ask the question.
Yeah. And then I move that we approve the creation of a comprehensive district plan that includes the code of conduct, rights and responsibilities, proactive positive behavioral strategies, progressive interventions, discipline and appropriate behavioral responses, and related policies. Do we want a
Friendly
second?
amendment. We're not approving a plan, but could we approve that the newly formed student committee review the code of conduct, rights, responsibilities, proactive, positive behavioral strategies, progressive interventions, and discipline, appropriate behavior responses, and related policies, and come up with a comprehensive district plan?
That's what this is doing. And
Exactly,
you're recommending
but
it to go
I'm
to.
recommending it go to student because there is no plan yet. You move to approve
To
a
create
plan,
one.
but there is no plan. So I'm just moving that the newly formed student committee develop such a plan and do the studying of this.
In coordination with student services, correct?
Well, she would be part of that committee. So, yeah, she's
I'm
the
amenable
liaison.
to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So if you accept that as a friendly amendment, then that's the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll accept that as a friendly amendment or part of it, and I guess we need a...
And I'll second it.
There we go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I am now down at the Early College Credit Program for summer and fall semester 2018-2019.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Policy, is there anyone who wants to combine these policies for
No,
one?
we have a change on one, so.
All righty. So policy 185, Rule 1, Standing Board Committee Rules, first reading.
Is this the one we made the change in committee today?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve policy 185, Rule 1, with the change discussed in committee earlier as far as defining relative.
I'll second.
All those in
I'd also like to add to the cross-reference, policy 522.31, supervisory nepotism, at the bottom.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Policy 185.3, Staff Committee, first reading.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Point of clarification, this is waiving a second reading. So this is first and second reading, I believe. Is that how we are doing? Okay. Since we're forming the committees now, we should probably waive first reading on all of these policies that have to do with the new committees.
So it would be, well, we just did one. There were only two of them that are coming, right? F and G, Pam?
Right.
Correct. Okay, moving down to H, Policy 522.31, Supervisory Nepotism, first reading.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify though, it's only the staff one that you're waiving the first reading and going right to second reading, because in policy, only 185 Rule 1, the Standing Board Committee Rules, came out as a first reading only.
So we could still waive second reading, waive first reading and just make it second reading here.
You could do that here, so that's why I'm clarifying whether you did that or not.
Would anyone be against going back and saying that that's a second reading, just so we can proceed?
No, I'll entertain a motion for that.
Okay, so I'll move that the reading for 185, Rule 1 is approved for second reading with the changes that we proposed in committee.
I'll second.
Okay, is everybody clear? Does anybody need clarification on this? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Michelle, can I clarify something in the next two, just because I happened to read them? So according to the minutes on April 10th, supervisory nepotism is on second read, although in our agenda it says first. So, and employee physical exams is also second read, as well as employee identification badges. So.
The reason why was I didn't catch when I did the Policy Personnel Committee agenda that they had been tabled to add the language that Pam had given to Deidre. And that language was not added at the Policy Committee level, but it is now in those policies you have before you, so that's why they're back at a first reading.
Okay.
So they were actually incorrect going for second reading at the committee level. They should have been first reading with that language added, and that wasn't caught.
So it's truly a first read?
It's truly a first reading because they were tabled last month.
Okay.
It should have come this month as a first reading with that language added, and I
Okay.
didn't have that language to add. And so I've gotten that language now, and it's been added in both of those, and it's boxed, the new language. So the nepotism was the longer description of family member, and then in the employee one, there's a bigger box at the end of the first paragraph on the employee physical
Physicals?
exam, and then there's a whole new section in the second paragraph. So all of that is new language that was discussed a whole month ago, but it wasn't written in there.
So they are first reads?
They are truly first readings.
So my minutes were wrong.
No, the minutes are accurate for what was on the agenda, but the agenda was wrong.
It's goofy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
All right, are we ready? Everybody know where we're at? Okay. Policy 522.31, Supervisory Nepotism, All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Policy 523.1, employee physical examinations.
Move approval.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Policy 523.6, identification badges, employees.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Policy 443/447, Code of Conduct, second reading.
Move approval.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel recommendations, can I have a motion, please?
I move that we accept the employment recommendations on Exhibit A.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Personnel recommendations passed. Discussion items. Do I have any items of interest for consideration at future meetings?
I have a couple minor ones. At one point, we were inviting new personnel to come to the board meetings, and are we still inviting them, or are they just not choosing to come?
We were inviting new administrators. So
Did we decide it was only administrators? I thought we were going, pardon me? I thought it was going to be all personnel, because I think it's important that we put a name to the face with teachers as well. I thought it was all. So if not, I guess I'd like to revisit that, because I would like to. Okay. Thank you. And then I know we're getting a list in our packet of events that are coming up. And I think I had mentioned this before. I'm wondering if we can create some sort of document. I think, Laura, you brought it to our attention that we could probably do a better job as a board of making sure that there's some attendance at events instead of having us 6 at one and nothing at another one. I know that happened the other night, that there were other events going on at the same time. So I don't know if we need to, I'd like to come up with a better way to do that. And I don't know if it's a Google Doc or it's something that, so that we can see what.
you have a Google shared board calendar that they could be put on.
That's the same as the availability calendar, correct? So maybe we could put those events on that calendar and then have board members put their names if they are going on that calendar at that event. Sound like a plan?
I mean, do people agree with me? I just think that's important that we start doing that.
No, but it's a consistent way for us to let each other know without
That's
a
what I mean.
million emails
Right.
going out requesting. Because right now, I think Michelle and I are trying to send out emails asking for board attendance, or do we have anybody? And this way, at a moment's glance, one, we all know who's going, but so does the public as well, which I think is a huge awareness issue.
Well,
So,
thank you. And that's what I'm trying to come up with, an easy way to do it.
okay, so if you all got in your packet tonight how to log in and use that board availability calendar,
We did.
and I'm going to call it on myself. I haven't always been good about doing it. So as a group, let's make sure we all know how to log into that. Get your name on there, get your availability on there, and then in addition, let's make that the place where we're going to load those events. That's the place I will look to see who's going to what event. Sound like a plan?
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, wait, I have a third.
Do is click on that event
Okay.
when it's on the calendar, and it'll open up, and there's a place where you can, like a description place where you'll be able to have your.
Perfect.
And then my third one. See, I never do this, and I'm going to throw them all
It's
there.
all right.
I know we said we don't need human trafficking as a future board agenda item, but I guess I would like to be informed. I mean, are we putting this into PD days, and do we have a rollout plan to actually get that to the students? So I would like to see that be a future agenda item, please. Thank you.
Anybody else with discussion or future items that they want? All right. I just want to remind everybody of the new committee structure, and please fill out those applications. We want to include staff, parents, students, community members on those committees. So if you go to the website, it's on the website. So please consider, if you're out there and you want to be involved in getting involved in one of those
committees. Announcements of future board meeting dates. Budget workshop is May 1st. Special board meeting is May 8th. Business meeting is May 22nd. Seeing no other items, I will officially adjourn this meeting. Thank you.